You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 90, holy cow 90, of Teach Better Talk. My name's Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with the very childlike Jeff Gargis.
I thought she gave a different one. You went with childlike though?
I like childlike because for those listeners that have just gotten to know, love, and hate us, Jeff is sitting in this recording right now wearing a white shirt with goofy characters on it, which I just love.
It's not goofy, it's Goofy characters? You mean Disney characters?
Disney characters, but Goofy's one of them.
I know, but it's got Goofy. It's got Mickey. Mickey's wearing a backwards baseball cap with some sunglasses. Donald's rocking a backwards cap. Donald Duck actually has like pants on, which is crazy. He doesn't normally wear pants, so that's fun, right?
Wow, what a thrilling shirt. Thank God you wore that for our recording.
My kids got me this shirt, Ray.
So sweet. I do love your children.
I know you do. That's why I threw that in there, because I figured that would defeat you.
But even when I do love your children, you are a little childlike.
Yeah, well, you know, I get it. Understandable.
That was from our amazing guest that we have on this podcast. This podcast was hysterical to record. We laughed at the beginning before we started recording. We laughed all the way through, and in the end, she still loved me best.
Yeah, I was not able to win her over. It was rough. It's very rough.
It's very rare that our guest doesn't enjoy you more, so just let me have this victory, dude.
I will let you have this victory. So, Ray, I want to throw something at you really quick. I do want to get into the episode as soon as we can, but I wanted to touch on something. You know, we're just coming into August here, so I know this is the month. I know, you know, we've been talking. This is where, you know, it's getting crazy, right? You're getting ready to get back into things. You're getting your final things done. Everything you've been learning over the summer and working towards over the summer, you're piecing together and getting ready to just go crazy for the next 31 days, or actually probably the next 60 days of prepping your classroom, getting ready, and bringing in a whole new crew of students and stuff. So is there something that you do, or actually we were talking about this, I know what you do, so let's just come out and say it. One of the things that you said that you like to do in this sort of this time of the year is to listen to podcasts, to go get that inspiration to kind of push you through as you're preparing and stuff for classes. Am I saying this right? Am I painting the right picture?
Teachers don't want to like immediately start thinking about their classroom. They do want to relax over the summer. So for me to try and get my mindset back into thinking about all the great ideas I had that I wanted to do this August, I feel like I listen to a podcast, get my mind moving and grooving, and then I can, you know, slowly ease into preparing for the students that are starting soon.
So can you give me? Let's roll through this. Can you give me 3 podcasts that our listeners should go to? Well, maybe we'll do more. Give me 3 to start that our listeners should go check out.
All right. If you want a low-key one that's just kind of goofy, but definitely education focused, you got to go to the Ask Adam and Ryan podcast. The Ask Adam and Ryan show. That one's always fun.
That's a good one.
If you're looking for something kind of fun, inspiring, I always am a huge fan of Teachers on Fire podcast with Tim Cavey. And goodness, one more that I really like. You know, I started really listening consistently to TeacherCast. I think that's a good one. And for those that haven't checked that out, that's a really great one to start at as well.
Yeah, and that's one where he covers a wide variety of things. So it's a pretty cool mix, I think. So,
but then again, I could name like 7 more. I was just trying to go through my list on my iPhone of like what are the podcasts I've listened to like this morning.
I'm gonna list. Let me throw a couple more here. One that I've really been enjoying is the Edu Duct Tape podcast with Jake Miller, who, by the way, is speaking at the Teach Better conference in November. And then a great one is Wired Educator which is Kelly Croy, who we had on, phenomenal guest, just a really great guy. And those are 2 that I've really been enjoying a lot. And then I still am still a fan of Teach Me Teacher. Which is a great one as well. So,
okay, wait, I have a few more.
Go ahead, that's 6. Go ahead and give a couple more.
Yeah, Sarah Johnson's In All podcast. She emails strong female women, like women educators. That's a super fun one to check out. And I love Gosh, the Aspire podcast with administrators.
Yeah, with Joshua Stamper.
He's coming to the conference too.
Mm-hmm. Can we give our boys on on education a shout out to Mike Washburn and Glenn?
Absolutely. And then you got to, if you're going to do that, then you got to do the EduTech guys as well.
Yeah, EduTech as well. Okay, good stuff. I'm loving it. This is good stuff. All right, so we just gave them, what, 9? Is that 9? 9
sure, let's
podcasts?
do one more.
10? No, we may be at 10 already. But yeah, do one more. What's one more for you?
All right, I'm going to go Monica Burns, her Easy Ed Tech podcast.
Awesome. All right, there you go. There's 10 podcasts that are not this podcast. So that's actually 11 if you count ours, that you can get in your ears and start listening to, getting yourself back into the groove, back into things. And by the way, those go all year. So you can listen all year to continue to stay inspired and connect with new educators and stuff like that. So I love it. So thanks, Ray. That's what I was looking for right there. So let's talk about this episode real quick, and then we're going to get into it. Talking with Stefanie Crawford, who we got to meet earlier this summer, and she was just a blast to hang out with and connect with in real life, right? But then this episode was just a laugh fest. I mean, we had a blast beforehand, and she delivered a lot of value in this. So Stefanie is an instructional coach. She's a big-time gamifier. She'll tell you that she's a lifelong learner. She's a blogger. She does vlogging. She'll tell you also that she's a lover of all things Harry Potter. She is the president of her local IDEA, which is the Illinois Digital Educator Alliance chapter. And she is just a ball of energy and just creative ideas. I love the way she looks at gamification and how she puts anything into that. She can basically gamify anything, I think is the way to look at her. Anything from the episode, Ray, that you want to call out specifically for everyone to pay attention to?
Gosh, I just love her energy. She's got really purposeful stories, and I just hope you enjoy. She's a ball of energy, so I hope this lifts you up a little bit.
And let's go with episode 90. 90, Ray. Episode 90? Holy cow. I couldn't even say it without going nuts. Episode 90 with Stefanie Crawford.
Hey everyone, we so appreciate having you listening here with us. If you enjoy the show as much as Jeff and I enjoy amplifying these educator stories, I'd really like to encourage you to leave a rating and review. It takes about 3 minutes. Just click your star rating. I personally am a fan of that 5-star review, and then share a comment about what you enjoy most about our podcast. To be honest, this just allows us to reach more listeners and further share these amazing educators' message. All right, let's get to the episode.
All right, we are here talking with Stefanie Crawford. And Stefanie, it's super awesome to have you on. We've already been laughing like crazy up to this point before we even hit record. I'm hoping we can make it through this entire episode. You and Ray are picking on me. I have sworn to turn you on her by the end of the episode. And so here we go. Let's see how it works. But anyway, we really are excited to have you on. We've gotten to know you a little bit better recently. And super excited to dig into your brain a little bit and have some fun. But before we go any further, I just want to ask you, how you doing today?
I am doing great, thank you. I am actually in the middle of my first Ed Camp Voice, which is all on Voxer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hadn't done it before, and I thought, why not just jump in? So it's a spectacular day.
And what session are you in? Or have you done a few?
I'm in about 6 different sections. Sketchnoting, restorative justice, assessments, play in the classroom. Those are a few of the big ones.
Well, Stefanie, I am so excited that we convinced you to come on Teach Better Talk. You have no idea. When we started chit-chatting a few weeks ago in person at Summer Spark, I knew that this would be the episode. This will be the episode where the guest likes me more than Jeff.
Well, I am so happy to be here, I have to tell you. And Ray, I mean, clearly I like you better. I don't know how that's not a thing normally.
I know. People are delusional. I don't know. Well, Stefanie, I want to make sure that while we've gotten to get to know you, I want to make sure our listeners do as well. So we're going to start off with a super easy question to get started, although for an educator, it never seems to be an easy answer. But would you mind telling us what you do?
What I do? Okay. Well, in the simplest terms, my job title is that I'm an instructional coach, and I do work with a district that has 8 buildings, about 300 teachers, K through 12. before that, I was an ELA middle school teacher. But what I do every day is really listen, support, model, and collaborate with the teachers in our district to help them, I guess, feel like they're not alone in the process of what they're doing, to help them take risks, to encourage them to think outside of their normal way of thinking. And really, we do that with admin too. So the role is so much bigger than the title. And I think I'm so lucky that I get to work with the variety of people and still go into classrooms and work with the students too, all in those things: listening, supporting, modeling, collaborating. It's a great role.
Wait, can I just say, Jeff and Stefanie, that we share this document between us while we were recording where we add notes to make sure that we're like relatively on the same page. Stefanie, I thought when you wrote model that you were going to tell us that you like modeled on the side, like you had all these like jobs.
No, but here's my fun fact. On the side, while I was teaching for about 8 years, I did proofreading for a company, small publishing company, that produced marketing textbooks for colleges. So my name is in print already and has been for many years.
Wow, you're amazing.
I love, Stefanie, how you gave us your title and then told us what you did. And because I love that you very distinctly separated your title from what you actually do. Because a lot of people, you know, when you're asked, what do you do? You go, well, I'm a teacher, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, where you were like, well, this is my title, but here's what I do. And I love that you see that differently. That's a good thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about failure. We talk a lot about this on the podcast every time. It's one of the questions that we ask all of our guests. So I'm anxious to dig in and hear your story here. Can you take us in a time that you've had a failure or a challenge in your life? Let us know like what happened, how did it make you feel, how did you overcome it, and then what did you take away from that?
First of all, I love questions about failure because I think we really shy away from talking about them. Well, okay, we talk about them generally, like, oh, failing's great and you should embrace failure, but then we like gloss over those failures and what it actually is, because then we would have to show weakness and vulnerability. And I think that teaching in a middle school, especially middle school level, where they are all vulnerable and insecure and they need someone to show them that like adults fail too and that it's okay. I love this question because we have to show some vulnerability. So my answer is going to really put me out there. So I am a very, I guess, goal-oriented person. If I want something, I make a plan and I get it. I don't spend years thinking about what I want to do. I just kind of go after it. And, you know, generally, I feel like we always have those failures that happen, those setbacks, but you bounce back. This one is not. This one is like one of those, oh my gosh, I hate even thinking about it, but it really made me a much better person and teacher. So when the role of instructional coach opened in our district, it actually opened as an instructional technology coach first because we were going one-to-one. And I knew I had started presenting at different places and knew that as much as I love the classroom, I was really wanting to help teachers who I had noticed, you know, a lot of times were isolated and maybe didn't try things because they were afraid to because of that isolation. So I applied for this job. I went all out. I thought I was super prepared for it. The interview, I felt great in it. And then I got the call that I didn't get it, which is always frustrating, right? Like when you get that rejection. And I asked what I could do, and there was really nothing. They couldn't tell me anything that I could have done differently. So that was at first frustration, but I internalized it and like, you know what, I could have a stronger Twitter game. And I really wanted to do more with my gamification. And I was already a team lead for my 8th grade team. And I'm like, but I could be doing more with them. So I really took it and made myself better. So when the second time that the job came around, because they were going to add to it, they're going to add a third person. The second time it came around, I applied for it, even though this was for high school rollout. And I had talked to our curriculum director and said, you know, should I even worry about this, applying for it? Or are you going to go with a high school person? Because it's a different crowd. I don't know any of the high school teachers right now. She's like, no, I really think you should. You've got the 8th grade knowledge and all that. So I apply for it, go through the interview, and I get the call. I've been rejected a second time. I have to tell you, all through the year as well, I was working with the person who got the job that I wanted. They were leading PD. They were coming into our classrooms. And I think that was my learning moment, because I had to decide, was I going to just be bitter about this, or was I going to embrace it and realize that for whatever reason, this was the person who got it, I didn't, and I needed to keep growing. And, that attitude keeps you going, but also people notice. It would have been very obvious to people around me if I had chosen to go the negative route. So it really helped me reflect more. And I'm a firm believer in that reflection anyway, but it helped me reflect more, and I think be very honest with myself about strengths and weaknesses and what I could do. I am happy to say that the third time the job was posted, I did get it. Thank goodness. I'm not sure I could have handled a third rejection. But again, it's all about like that story. It may sound silly that I had all this buildup about how it makes me vulnerable, but it really is, because I don't like failing. None of us like, I think, failing in a job search like that. And I didn't like that. I don't mind failing in the classroom when I'm trying something new and talking to my students about how we can redo it. This felt different. So this was a failure that it really helped strengthen me, helped me maintain that attitude, helped me look better at my reflection practices, and then ultimately really appreciate where I'm at now. Sorry, that was long-winded.
No, I love that story. I'm really glad that's what you chose, because I don't even know if I see the first two attempts as failure, because the way I love that you said you had a choice to either be bitter or to embrace that and grow from it. That's massive. I mean, that's such an important lesson for, obviously for our students, but just for all of us individually and anyone listening. The fact that you were tenaciously chasing after that, you refused to give up, right? Even though you felt bad, you still look at it as a failure and stuff, but you were able to, in the moment, embrace it. I talk a lot about how I'm very fortunate to have failed a lot, but I also usually joke that when I failed, I wasn't really happy about it. And a lot of it I've had to, it's taken many years for me to like be able to reflect back and actually really see the value. And I still dig into failures now, where I'll realize another value, but to see it that close to it, and be in a spot where you could have very easily also like placed blame on people, and probably most people around you would have rallied with you and be like, oh yeah, they cheated you, or that person didn't deserve, right? Because misery loves company and stuff. But instead you chose to embrace it, and just from the little bit that I know you, that doesn't surprise me. But I love that, and that you chose not to be bitter and stuff. So that's really
Jeff,
cool. I love that story.
Jeff,
so let's
I think
flip it
that
around
needs
now.
to be a new quote for us: "Be bitter or be better."
I would just like the credit for that, please.
Absolutely.
Or is it be better, not
well, I just
bitter?
think she could have chosen to be bitter, but she chose to be better. There you go. Stefanie, right there.
All right, I'm seeing another bumper sticker.
Yes.
Ray, you've been talking a lot. We're like, I think we're starting a bumper sticker company.
Yeah, if this whole podcasting
maybe
thing
a
doesn't
shirt?
work out.
I just feel like, Jeff, you're lucky you have Ray around.
Ah!
Stefanie, you have no idea how lucky
True.
I really am. It's incredible. Ray, I don't know if you noticed in your free PD series this morning when you were talking about communication, I posted a comment that I would like to communicate to everyone how much I appreciate you.
Oh, stop. Don't be a sap now. She already
So I just...
best.
All right, let's flip it around now, Stefanie. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. This can be something big, something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what'd you take away from that experience?
So I almost think that this question is harder than the failures, because I believe in just celebrating the smallest of successes. So like even the students who, I don't know, see you in the hall and say hi to you still, or connect with you on Facebook, which is so strange. But once they graduate high school, I've always told them they could add me as a friend if they still wanted to. And some of them do. And some of them reach out with messages. And that sounds so silly, but that's a success, because that means I succeeded in building a relationship. But when I was thinking about this, when I think about successes, something I'm really proud of that has happened recently is really going along the lines of taking that playful learning. And I had already run a gamified classroom, and I loved the results that I was seeing in there. So when I got this position, I really wanted to turn our PD around. I believe in starting with the why in things always, because I think it helps us make our goals and stick with them, and it drives us. So the why in this behind Gamifying PD was really that we had 300 teachers, and I needed them to be closer. I have 2 other coaches that I work with, and we were talking about it. And we said, outside of your own building, you don't know anyone. I didn't know people from the elementary schools. I didn't know people from the high school. I really only knew a handful from the other middle school that we had. And that was a huge driving factor in our why. We wanted some unity. And then beyond that, we wanted people to be excited about PD and not think of it as another sit and get meeting. So I came up with this idea, and luckily the other 2 coaches that I work with, they hadn't had experience with gamification, but they were along for the ride and so supportive. So we gamified PD. We made it the optional PD. So it wasn't like the PLCs that they had to go to, because we don't have any control over that. But everything that we did was completely optional, but set up in a gamified way. And out of the 300 teachers, 300 plus teachers and admin, because we put all district admin in it. So all building principals and our superintendent, assistant superintendent, curriculum director, assistant curriculum director, all of them went in these teams. And we gave them choices, and they could earn points for their team and items. And out of the 300 plus people that were on the teams, we had over 2/3 do something to participate. And that was just huge for us. Again, because it was completely optional. It didn't drive their evaluations. They didn't get PD hours for it for the state. They built relationships with their team members and with people that they would never have talked to before. So that was a really awesome thing. And it showed that teachers are just like our students. We need someone to believe in us, to give us allies, to just make us feel like we're something, like we're supported, like we're doing good things, or that we're capable of doing good things, instead of it just being initiatives and programs to learn. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm hoping that, the momentum can continue and we only grow stronger with it.
I love your idea to gamify professional development, because, teachers work really hard to make learning opportunities engaging and fun for students. And yet professional development is not always viewed in that same light, but teachers are just as bad as the students. They want to have fun. They want to be motivated. They want to learn new things and collaborate with their peers, right? I mean, this is just how people love to learn. It doesn't end when you're 18 and you go to college, right?
Right.
So I think that was such a good idea. That makes me just so excited. I want to be in professional development with you.
Thanks. We have our days. We have fun. And there are some teachers who are still figuring out if they like it or not. I feel like there's always going to be the teachers that are going to have that complaint no matter what you do, whether it's sit and get, whether it's gamified or whatever. So what we're constantly trying to do is, how can we reach them, though, to finally find what it is that they really get excited about. So we are constantly reflecting and trying to make it even better.
Just like our students. See, that's absolutely fine. And if anything else, they're seeing something, you're modeling something that they could choose to do in their classroom or not, but at least be familiar with this new way that many teachers are exploring delivering content. So, you're not only modeling whatever new topic you're having, facilitated between the educators, but now you're modeling a way in which they could do it. So it's like double PD.
I will say that has also been a huge bright spot, is that many teachers have started including things from our PD, like as simple as choice boards, the way that we set them up. One of our challenges, our side quest, was making an escape room with Google Forms. And you had to make it. And the way that we gather them is, we say, if you complete a task, you have to put it on the Padlet that's embedded in the website that we built. And that way, all the teachers have access to what you've created and the resources you're sharing. And so there have been so many teachers that have made escape rooms this year to use, that now they'll have and can go back and edit. Teachers that have full on gamified their class or are in the process of doing it for the next year. That's as good of a feeling as when you're in the classroom and your students are doing those things and running with them and trying something new, it really just, it makes everything feel worth it.
Absolutely. Because the students have changed, but the learning experiences are still valuable. You still get those fun aha moments. And I think that's so amazing. So without all of that being said, right, all these things that you're dabbling with, all the PD that you're facilitating and working with students, what's getting you excited about education? What's fueling your fire?
Well, obviously, playful learning, gamification, that gets me excited because it's the merging of the fun and the learning. And I like that there are people rethinking the idea that in order for it to be learning, we have to sit still and listen for hours. Because as you already said, like, teachers are not great with PD. I know that I did not do great with sitting and listening. There was always other things going on in my mind during that sit and get. So I love that we're rethinking that. I do love the rethinking the traditional school model, which also isn't new, but it's gaining a lot of steam. And for someone who's been a proponent for it for many years, it's really interesting seeing the conversations and watching teachers shift some of their mindsets, even if they don't all agree on what needs to happen, that we're seeing that the traditional model isn't working. I love that. The focus, there's like several things in education. I love the focus on restorative justice that we're seeing too. I think that's important because as our demographics change at our schools and all of that, our teachers need to respond to it. And also as we realize that maybe, again, it goes back to that traditional model, maybe the way we always did things with punishment and consequences wasn't the best way. So I love all of that. And then personally in my job, the excitement I love is this shift of getting to see what happens at all of the buildings. I only had the middle school perspective, and now suddenly I am able to see what happens with high school and elementary. And something as simple as one of the other coaches comes from an elementary background and the other one comes from a high school background. And we were talking about, we had, I had 4 preps, she had 5 preps, and the elementary background coach was going, what do you mean you had like 4 and 5 free periods in a day? And we're like, no. Prep means something much different here. It means that we're prepping for those classes. So we still only get 1 free period to do that, but we're trying to write lessons for 4 or 5 different classes. And just like those conversations alone, I never realized that was a thing that people didn't all understand the same way. So I'm getting a huge perspective shift where I'm able to view everyone. And that is truly exciting.
Stefanie, it's funny when I think back to our fun conversation we had a few weeks ago. We were at a networking event talking shop and, kind of reflecting on how much we had in common and how much we both love our jobs. And I feel like your energy just like oozes out of you, which I think comes across really well in this podcast. But it's so funny because you haven't even mentioned half of the things that you're truly involved in. Like you are a yes person, even though we joked that can be very scary. And I know you do a lot for teachers, not just in your district, but virtually and in a number of different facets as well. And I was really excited to ask you about this question about advice, because I think you've seen a lot. You've had a lot of opportunity to network with a number of different types of people, styles of teachers, kind of all across the country. So I'd love to hear your advice for a teacher listening who wants to, explore, wants to take risks, maybe is starting in a new building or wants to just be a better teacher and reach her students more deeply, his or her students more deeply, I guess. What advice do those teachers need to continue on this progressive movement?
I love this question. And obviously everyone has a different answer. For me, it doesn't go to the trendy tools and all of that. It really comes down to remembering a few things. You are truly not alone. Even if you find yourself in a building that it seems like you're alone. Because I feel like a lot of us have been there, unfortunately, where it can feel very, again, like I said before, isolating, but you're really not alone. You have to seek out a good PLN. And one of the best places for that is Twitter. When a few years ago, I really started to lose my passion for teaching. I had contemplated leaving the classroom, and that was sad for me because I am a person who gives, everything I am to my classroom, to my students. I love them. They are my kids. And I just, with the weight of all of it was coming down on me, and I didn't always feel supported. Sometimes I felt alone, and I really came to a point where I wasn't sure what to do about it. And going out on Twitter was the best thing I could have done, because it allowed me to have conversations with people from all over, not just in this country, but in other countries, and share ideas. And in doing that, you build confidence in what you're doing and those abilities, because honestly, those first years, first 1 to 3 that you're teaching, it is exhausting. And you do start to wonder sometimes, are you doing the right thing? Is it easier just to give in? So creating that network, that professional learning network, is huge. And you just have to remember you are good enough. Don't worry about the Pinterest. I don't know, is Pinterest still really a thing? I always look at that. The Pinterest ready rooms, like it can be pretty on the outside, but that doesn't mean that it's great on the inside. And I kind of see that the same way as like Instagram posts. We can make them look pretty, but you don't know what's really going on the inside. So you have to remember that you're good enough, and that it's okay to really ask for help or admit that you need support. And I think we, as teachers, we're always worried that someone's looking over our shoulder, ready to say like, see, it didn't work, or see, you didn't know what you were doing. I could have done it better. And I think it's just a fear we have because of how we're set up for evaluations and trying to get these distinguished. And you can start feeling like, you shouldn't ask for help because that means you're weak, or going back to you're not good enough, but you have to be able to ask. I reach out frequently to people who I respect, who are doing, not even all teaching, but doing different jobs, that I have questions, like, how would you approach this situation? Or can you give me some advice on this? And that's the wonderful thing. Like, when you reach out and help, it goes back to that vulnerability. When I was talking about admitting our failures, you start to really gain the trust of the people that you're talking with, and you have a true network to go back to.
Wow, that was some awesome advice. I don't even know what to say. I was going to say something. I'm like, no, I don't need to. I'm going to ruin it.
You're going to tell me I'm talking too long.
No, absolutely not. No, I love how you dug into you kind of rounded out I was loving the ask for help, but then you like finished it off with like, that's how you really build that PLN. Because a lot of people connect with a lot of people. They might get a lot of followers, a lot of email addresses, a lot of, hey, contact me if you ever need me. But if you're never reaching out and never talking to those people and having conversations, and like you said, being vulnerable and putting yourself out there to talk with them, like those relationships don't grow. You're not actually giving yourself any opportunity to utilize that PLN, and therefore you're not an active member in that network. So then they're going to be much less likely to ever reach out to you for help, or ever reach out to you for an opportunity or support and things like that. So that's great advice. I'm loving it. All right. We're going to do the next 6 questions. You got 15 seconds or less to answer.
You've already seen that brevity is not my strong suit.
This is the only part of the episode where I'll tell you you're talking too long.
I can do this.
15 seconds or less. Okay. You ready? She's not.
She's going to be great.
What's that face to make it? I can do this. Okay.
All right. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
WeVideo for teachers and students. Green screen, music, Google Doc integration, video feedback, personalized.
What's a book that you're reading right now?
Oh, I read books. I read more than one at a time. So I'm currently reading The Power of Moments. I'm finishing the Adrenaline Rush, which I will give a little plug. I have an activity mentioned in there.
Nice.
And then for Fiction Against the Claw, which is a nice little cozy mystery. And up next is The New Assistive Tech.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter today?
I'm going to give you 2 that
right.
I love. Don Sturm is great. He is local by me, and he's huge with 4 o'clock faculty and that, and he has great ideas. He's active on Twitter, very supportive, perfect person to connect with. And then Heather Mars is also fantastic. She is a coach now, but she was an elementary teacher, gamified instructor. She does sketch notes too. Again, very supportive, welcoming.
What's the best YouTube channel or website for educators?
I'm going to say Twitter.
It counts.
I feel like it's kind of a cop out. Okay.
I'll take it.
But It's fantastic. I could not be the teacher I am today without it.
Love it. Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Starting a streak, and I don't mean taking your clothes off and running around. Okay. That means doing something, committing to do something every day. Right now I'm in day 113 of a 30-minute a day move streak, where it has to be like strenuous exercise.
Nice.
And before that I did over a year's worth of daily running for a run streak.
How?
I think it helps. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to ask a question.
I think it helps really build that routine in your head and helps you think during those times, because your head starts to clear while you're doing these things. And it also helps you get in the role of trying something new and sticking with it, like you're asking your students to do.
So if someone's listening and thinking, you know what? Oh, that's what I need to do a streak. I need to figure out how to do that. How long should I do it in order for me to consider it a streak? Like, how long is that supposed to be?
So 5 days is a great time to do it. For 5 days, you can commit to doing this one thing. Michael Matera actually does a 5 for 5. I had started doing my run streak a couple years ago, and then he came up with this, like, well, what if you did something for 5 days? If you can't commit to doing it every day for a year, could you commit to doing something for 5 days? And then he uses the 5 for 5 hashtag, and it's really fun. I've done it multiple times throughout the year, and it helps you try something new, because you don't have to be scared that you've got to do it for longer than 5 days. But if you love it, you could continue it for longer than 5 days.
Cool. Yeah, good starting point on that. So
I have a very serious question.
Okay.
Does drinking coffee count as a streak? Because I just got this really cool coffee machine, and I just want to know, if I go 5 for 5 on this, does that count?
I would say that you would have to have a different kind of coffee every day for 5 days for it to count.
Woo! Oh, man.
I think you're giving her way too easy of a cop-out on that one.
Well, I was going to tell her that really it should only count if it's dark roast, because that, in the most current research, has the most health benefits for you. So
you're saying my vanilla latte isn't going to count?
Yes,
No,
I will
not
go
at all. Because all the health benefits in your dark roast coffee go right out the window if you put any kind of sweetener or creamer in it.
What if it makes for a really good Instagram photo?
But I'm going to tell you that I only started drinking coffee about 3 weeks ago because of this research that came out about the dark roast. Before that, I was multiple Diet Cokes, and I still have a slight addiction to that, which is not good for you. Those chemicals. Yeah, they kill lab rats, but in very high concentration, right? Like, I'm fine for another couple years.
Stephanie, at some I don't see you needing any caffeine in your life. I think you could probably cut that out.
I'm going to tell you, the first day that I did have coffee, I ended up playing a couple board games on my own and adapting them, like 3 different board games, all within the span of like 2 hours, because that's what it does to my mind.
Well,
so there you go.
The benefit, Stephanie, is that you're drinking the dark roast, which actually has less caffeine.
Okay, so there you go.
A lot of people get confused on that, because the dark roast is typically bolder, but it actually has less caffeine. I mean, it's so minuscule, it's not really that much of a difference, but it actually technically does, because it gets roasted.
I appreciate your support here, Jeff.
I'm doing what I can.
You live pretty close to me, Stephanie. Why don't you come over tomorrow? I'll make you a coffee in my special machine.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
What special coffee machine did you get?
Oh, I got a very, very fancy, and it's so cute, and it makes delicious coffee. It's red.
Okay, then.
I'll send you a picture, Jeff. Don't worry.
Stephanie, I want you to know that Ray has made you miss the 15-second mark on question 5.
No!
Not my fault.
So if you would like to jump ship and make me your favorite, now would be the time to do that.
Ray is offering me coffee made from her very special coffee machine.
I'm offering to edit this podcast episode to make you sound real good.
You know what? You always win people over with your editing skills.
I have a lot of power, Ray.
No, but you know what, Ray? Here's why he's not going to get me. Because when I started my YouTube channel, my whole joke with Michael was that I would get it in one take, and we would do the hashtag one take. So I don't care if I come off as long-winded for question number 5, thanks to Ray's help.
I'm gonna slow down your voice every time, so it sounds like you're drunk the whole time.
That's so nice of you.
All right, let's finish this up strong. Best piece of advice you've ever received.
The best piece of advice I ever received was, don't get involved in the drama.
Oh, I like it.
Yes.
You should not go over to Ray's
Absolutely.
house for coffee because all you're gonna get is coffee with drama.
Well, is it like TV show drama?
Yeah.
Because I could talk with that.
She's just so petty and dramatic about everything. It's just this is
Jeff, it's really sweet that you chose the 90th episode to be your last episode as my co-host.
I'm so glad I could be here to help with this.
Stephanie, I have to get very serious for a second.
Okay.
None of that is true. Ray is the best co-host I've ever had in my life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So to confirm with our listeners, that's called power.
If they only knew how much power you really had, Ray.
Well, Stephanie, it has been a ball having you on this podcast. I just knew from the moment we connected at, Summer Spark recently that you were going to be outstanding at Teach Better Talk, but you definitely lived up to the expectation and far exceeded it. I want to make sure our listeners can continue to be connected with you and play board games with you and share coffee with you and do all these amazing things. So would you mind sharing how they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. On Twitter, I am at Mrs. Cford. That's CFORD _tweets. If we had more time, I'd tell you why there's an underscore. Instagram at passionate edu. I have a blog that's Mrs. Seaford blogs at wordpress.com, but I've really gotten into the vlogging, so I don't always write there, but I have started housing all of my YouTube videos. So when you go there, you'll see blogs that I've written, as well as introductions to the YouTube videos for the vlogging. So it is updated, even though it's not always a blog. And then obviously you can actually go to my YouTube channel as well. And I do post a lot of videos about using games in the classroom, but also about just remaining positive, how we can build relationships, showing gratitude, that type of thing. And that actually is... My name is Stefanie Crawford Vlogs on that. You can actually find it on that customized channel.
And, you can find all the links and resources and everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those important links to connect with Stephanie, links to her blog, and links to her YouTube channel over in the show notes. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you give us a rating and a review, that'd make Ray super happy. And let's take it one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues that need to hear amazing stories like Stephanie's and share this podcast with them. Stephanie, this was a fun episode. I'm not even going to lie. This was a blast, which I don't think Ray or I are surprised of. We had a blast with you out in Wisconsin and excited to have you on here. So we really appreciate you sharing your stories, getting deep with us on a bunch of stuff, and having a whole lot of fun. So just thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It really has been a great time, and I love the work that you guys are doing.
And with that, let's get out there and let's teach better.